floor.
Good afternoon, Chair White and members of the Commission. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Bundy. I'm an attorney at Shute, Mahali and Weinberger, and I'm appearing on behalf of CFROG today. Just to let the Commission know that in our opinion, the proposed amendments are reasonable, common sense, and lawful, and should be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors for consideration. We have a letter in the record at Exhibit 22. I'm not going to summarize everything in that letter, but I just want to touch on a couple of key points. First and foremost, among which is getting clear on what the amendments do and don't do. These amendments will not affect existing oil and gas operations under properly vested rights, and they definitely won't shut down the industry. They simply require discretionary review of new and expanded operations. We agree with County Council and staff that the proposed amendments do not infringe on vested rights. Vested rights principles are well settled in California under the Supreme Court's AVCO decision. There are a couple things you need to be able to show that you have vested rights. First, a specific approval, a building permit or the functional equivalent. And second, you have to have completed substantial work and incurred substantial liabilities in good faith reliance on that permit. Any vested rights are also limited to the specific terms of the permit. Here, the antiquated CUPs at issue are not a functional equivalent of building permits. They don't say how many wells are allowed, where they'll be located. They don't describe specific structures or where they'll be built. And they're not even self-executing. The existing ordinance already requires additional approval and additional zoning clearance or building permit for new wells and structures. Under the Hermosa Beach case, if these kinds of subsequent approvals are required, the underlying conditional use permit has already been recognized as insufficient to give rise to a vested right. The industry is essentially claiming a vested right here to unlimited expansion precisely because the old permits are so vague. This turns the doctrine on its head. And that's exactly what the Supreme Court was concerned about in AVCO, these kinds of vague approvals giving rise to indeterminate exemptions from future zoning laws. We also agree with County Council that the Hansen Brothers case that's cited in industry comments does not apply to oil and gas. Hansen Brothers recognized a narrow exception to the AVCO analysis for rock quarries and surface mining operations. The opinion even says that it's only about surface mining operations. And as County Council indicated earlier today, oil and gas operations are not rock quarries. They don't require expansion throughout the parcel itself. They don't require mining and taking away the parcel itself. They don't require occupation of the entire surface of the parcel. There are a number of reasons why Hansen Brothers has never been extended to oil and gas operations, and industry has never cited a single case that would extend the case to oil and gas operations. The only case we have found is a California Superior Court decision referenced in our letter that explicitly rejected the argument that Hansen Brothers should apply to oil and gas. Very quickly, a couple of other points. The proposed amendments do not violate CEQA. CEQA exempts ordinances like this one that are intended to protect the environment. There's no evidence that these proposed amendments will cause the loss of availability of a petroleum resource or preclude access to petroleum resources. Again, these amendments won't shut down the industry. And County Council was correct in remarking that whether the county might someday deny or condition the discretionary permit is speculative at this point. So we would urge the Commission to recommend adoption of these amendments. They essentially require the industry to follow the same rules as everyone else who has to go through discretionary review to institute or expand a land use. Discretionary review is required for wineries, daycare centers, beds and breakfasts, camps and campgrounds. The list goes on and on. Discretionary review doesn't mean that these things can't occur and that it hasn't shut these industries down. The proposed amendments are lawful, necessary to protect public health and safety, and we would ask this Commission to recommend that they be adopted. Thank you very much for considering our comments today.